Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds. So a lot of people have asked me about our lids and a couple details about them, types of materials, kind of what we're wanting, and also the price. So I'm going to try to address that in this video. When it comes to the price, I'm going to start there. They're pretty inexpensive, and that's the main reason we use this type of lid. I mean, you look at these bee supplies, and hey, I understand they have to make money. We do as well. However, part of sometimes making money is just not wasting it and blowing it on equipment if you can help it. So this right here is an Vant Tech lid. This is a material that is common in the construction industry in this part of the world. Now, I know certain parts of the U.S. it's not as common for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe just those people don't know what to look for. But this material right here, and I will try to leave a link below to where you can look at that at a Lowe's. I believe most Home Depots as well carry that material. This is typically used for flooring, and it is really heavy material. And this is what I started using initially, and it has done good for the price, but we're switching to a different material because I think the other is better for multiple reasons, which we'll get into in a minute. But the Vant Tech, I can get a sheet for about $34, and it really fluctuates depending on the lumber industry. I've paid as much as $36 a sheet, and then I've got it as low as $32 a sheet. I can make 10 lids per sheet, no problem. So that includes the side pieces and all that stuff. So that is very cost effective for a lid. Now, this is just an old box right here, and it fits almost flush all the way around. It's made to be a little bit bigger than the box. Now, you can make them bigger than that, but when you're putting hives on pallets, you're going to have to make sure that your lids aren't too big, or you won't be able to put them next to each other. So if you're going to be doing either two-way pallets or four-way pallets or any of those type of pallets, then you're going to have lids that are like this and that are flush, unless you have a special made pallet. So the lid is 16.5 inches wide this way, and then going the long way it is 20 1/8. That's pretty much all of our lids are like that. We'll have a few telescoping covers in the videos periodically, but that's not very common anymore because it just takes more time to fool with those. Now, I understand that a lot of people that are up in northern areas want to insulate more, and hey, we're looking into it, and I very well might start insulating everything to a degree. I think there's some merits there, and the more I look into it, the more I think the initial investment into it would be worth it for the long haul. So this is Vant Tech. Whew, that's nice and pretty. All kinds of stuff on the bottom of that. This material right here, again, is very inexpensive. The problem I have with the Vant Tech, though, is not all the boards are created equal. And this is wax dip, so it's a lot better. Regardless of the materials, if you're using this or the one we're fixing to get to, you've got to make sure that they are painted or dipped very well. If not, moisture will get in there, and Vant Tech says it won't swell. I say fiddlesticks to that. Now, I know some of the damage that is happening is because of the sunlight, the UV, degrading the wood, but the problem I have with Vant Tech is it wants to chip up a little bit. And if there's paint on it, then that's going to come right up with it. And then water doesn't seem to really rot the wood, but it will find ways through it. When we're wax dipping this, it's amazing the amount of air that comes out of these boards. You would not think that's the case. There's a lot of air that comes out of this, and if it's not painted or dipped well, moisture can seep through this type of material. So that's a Vant Tech for you right there. Now, usually around the same price, you're going to have this material right here. Now, locally, it's called PDX plywood. It's pretty much just plywood, I think, just quality. It's not the cheap stuff. It's not the expensive stuff. There's the material right there. This top piece is at Vant Tech. So you can see the multiple layers that are glued together. I like it. It doesn't want to pill up like the Vant Tech. The price is pretty much the same. I think it ends up being like $1 or $1.50 more than the Vant Tech. But I like the fact that it doesn't want to pill up like that. Also, it just seems to not want to warp as bad, which you would not think so, the way that the Vant Tech is. But after a while, and that's why we have these brace boards on top. We tried 100 lids like that this year with these boards up like this. And you can see that we don't have them, get out of here, we don't have them connected all the way at the ends. This is to make sure that water doesn't build up on top and that it can find a way to seep through it. Now, one thing that we're considering doing in the near future is similar to what Ian's doing up in Canada, is building basically about a 1/2 inch rim around this, and he uses it to put additional pressure on his foamies. But the main reason I want it is to give me extra space underneath the lid for pollen patties, which I know he uses that for his as well. So that's something to consider as well. Again, make sure with these lids that you paint them very well, inside and out. I know some people say that, oh, you shouldn't do that inside the beehive. Fiddlesticks. I know you don't maybe think that's the way that bees should be kept, but anyone who's done a bunch of cutouts on colonies and buildings and all these kind of things, bees do just fine in those type of environments. They do fantastic, actually, as long as they have good nutrition, a decent queen, and dead mites. It's funny how we keep coming back around to that all the time. So this lid right here, about the same price. Really, when you add the screws, get out of here, cat in the box, get in there. All right. It's still purring away so much. I mean, it's like shaking. I could feel it through the box. Get out of there. All right, so what was I saying? Cats. All right, so this material here, I talked about the price. We talked about the measurements. You see how it's not perfect right there. And that might be the box, but they will warp to a degree. So this helps with the warping. You're going to get a little bit of warpage no matter what you use. Now, you'll notice with a lot of migratory covers, you'll have a piece that comes up here and goes down, and it keeps it from going forward or backwards. I don't see that that's necessary for me. I've never had a problem with any of these lids blowing off, not once, but it's not super windy here in Tennessee. So that's something to consider. You can just make you some boards, put it down, but all these pieces right here are just scrap pieces from other things like that. I do prefer having these fronts and side pieces, if I had the choice, to be like a regular piece of pine or something, but you definitely can use this material right here. And you can insulate underneath like we've done in some of the videos, and if you're worried about moisture getting up underneath this in the winter, you can just take some tar paper or something and wrap around the hive, something just to keep the moisture off the top. So there's really not a lot to these lids. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we need to mention about the lids? They definitely need to be sealed good, but that's just lids in general. You know, a lot of the classic telescoping covers have the metal on top, which is fine, and that works very good, but they're really pricey, and I've tried bending the metal. Unless you have a good way of bending the metal, it's really hard to get it to lay flat. I've made some pretty good looking ones, but it takes time. The metal's expensive. You got the wood material. And the problem with the telescoping covers is you get all these places on the side where, you know, just all kinds of critters ants and stuff can build up underneath, and that's one of the reasons we went away from the inner cover and the telescoping cover, is because there would always be these little gaps where ants and roaches and stuff would like to get into. Really with these, it's completely eliminated because the bees are able to get to everything, and so they're able to safeguard the hive better and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, price, materials. Laurel, can you think of anything? It's really cheap. It's like $4 a lid. You know, we dip them too. You can, but if you're gonna paint them, don't be spray painting them. I've tried that before. I've got a really nice airless sprayer. It does a great job on a lot of things, but not when it comes to this kind of stuff, because you need to roll it down into all this material. You need to make sure it gets down in there, or it's not going to do a very good job. The moisture will find a way in. And this box is an old one. Don't be like me and not paint the edges here. That's where they're going to rot. You can already see a little bit of decay here in the corners. Over in this one especially, it's just starting to get all soft in these corners. Boxes rot here and in these corners first, always. Unless you have a really weird box, maybe like with a hole in it or something like that, you know, added ventilation. Anyways, I just said anyways, again, I keep saying it over and over again. If you have any comments or questions, or if there's anything I missed, I feel like in the beginning of the video I said something and I forgot to mention it later. So maybe you'll realize what that is, and you can leave it in the comments below, like I'm sure you will. Thanks for watching.